Have you been feeling down for no particular reason lately? Things that used to bring you joy no longer do. You can't seem to find the motivation to be productive at work, but you do seem to scroll on your phone aimlessly. You're mad at yourself. You know you're supposed to be productive. You know you have to get back to your daily grind, but you're feeling so much resistance. This is exactly how I felt a couple weeks ago. In this video, I will share with you my insight into productivity through the lens of burnout and mental health. We'll also talk about some ways to get back to work after feeling like we're drowning or burnt out. First of all, understand that you are human, not a machine. Yeah, I know it's a tough pill to swallow because machines don't need to rest, but humans do. But keep in mind, you are human and it's normal for you to be human. You're allowed to be human. This leads to the discussion of secondary emotions, which is defined by emotional reactions we have to other emotions. This sounds like a mouthful and kind of vague, so let me give you an example. So for example, someone might feel anxious as their primary emotion. And as their secondary emotion, they might feel shame. They're ashamed that they're feeling anxious. So why is that relevant? Secondary emotions rob you of your self-compassion and can lead you to shut down, which could be one of the reasons why you feel like you are drowning and not being productive as a result. Primary emotions like sadness, fear, and anger are not intrinsically good or bad. They're just what they are. If you can process them and let them to flow through, they usually don't distract you from your day-to-day activities as much. However, when you judge yourself for having your primary emotions, when you have secondary emotions, when you have self-judgment, this can cause you to shut down and not perform or be productive. For example, some people might feel that being anxious or sad is a sign of failure. So as their secondary emotion, they judge themselves for being anxious. And so on top of being anxious, they also have that judgment on top that makes them feel maybe ashamed or embarrassed. And now your emotions, they're like a messed up ball of yarn that is super hard to untangle because it's so complicated. So many things are going on at once and it really overwhelms your body and brain. Same thing with productivity. If you are, let's say, currently not productive, but you're judging yourself for not being productive enough, this is also a secondary emotion that causes you to shut down and be even less productive and have even less motivation to get working. If that is you, then keep this in mind. Work is not moral. Productivity is also not moral. Not working or not being productive does not make you a bad person. Just because you're resting does not mean you're useless. You're worthy regardless of how much output you produce. Your worth is not measured by productivity, accomplishment, or any external validation. Instead of seeking love from the outside, provide unconditional love for yourself first. Love yourself no matter what and care for yourself during your worst days. Especially on your worst days. You always deserve to rest. You always deserve to do things that brighten up your day. And how does all that have to do with work or being productive? Well, when you're judging yourself for having emotions or not being productive enough, you can experience shutdown, aka a feeling of drowning and a lack of productivity. You can't always punish yourself into productivity forever. This could also impact your care tasks, like doing chores or tasks that help with personal hygiene. If this sounds familiar, I recommend a book by Casey Davis called How to Keep House While Drowning. The concepts in the book can also apply to work and productivity. If you want to be productive, you have to first stop judging yourself and allow yourself to rest. The more you push through, regardless of your suffering, regardless of your own well-being, the more you'll feel burnt out. And burnouts can often take months or even years to recover from. Are you really willing to push through regardless of the consequence? And now we know why we're feeling like we're drowning and why we're not productive. Let's talk about how to get back to work. And ironically, the path to getting back to work is actually the opposite of work, which is resting, specifically productive rest. Feeling like you're drowning is alarming. Your body is literally sending you a signal that you are being overworked. It's like the computer saying system overload. If you don't get some rest now, you might be faced with real burnout that might take years to recover from. So how do you rest productively? The foundational rest is, of course, sleep. Are you getting on average 8 hours a day or however many hours you actually need? Some people need more than 8 hours, and that's completely fine. Do you have a regular sleep schedule? It is not just about how many hours you sleep every single night, but it's also about, are you sleeping at regular hours, or are you sleeping at 10 p.m. one day and 2 a.m. the next day? And on top of that, do you have a list of activities that help you rest and recharge? And this is really different for everyone. And I'm going to share with you my list of recharging activities. For example, I like doing my nails. I like doing my skincare or using a face mask, bubble bath, sauna, doing my makeup. I like practicing Kundalini yoga. I also like reading and chilling by the beach and journaling. These are some recharging activities that help me recharge and rest productively. So I recommend you to keep a list of these recharging activities on your phone because it is actually super difficult to come up with recharging activities when you're already burnt out. It is much easier to just pick activities from a list that you've already created when you're not as burnt out. And on top of doing restful activities, keep in mind that you don't set any limit to how long you rest. It defeats the purpose. Take as long as you need. And also, many of the urgent things are really not that urgent when you give it some thought or just let it fall off your radar. Nothing is more important than your own well-being. If you're not well, it doesn't matter how productive you are or how much money you make because you no longer exist. You no longer feel well. It is all meaningless. So assuming now that you've already rested plenty and you're ready, like truly 100% ready to get back to work, here's something to help you get back to work. Before you go full force back into work, I recommend you to come up with a not to-do list. So we all know a to-do list, which is a list of things that we have to do. But a not to-do list is the opposite of that. What are some things that you have to do that you don't find joy in doing? List them all out first and then ask yourself whether they fit into these categories. Delegate, delete, delay, and do. Many of the things on your list should go into delegate, delay, and delete. Around 20% would end up in do. And the ones in do are your urgent and important activities. This is also known as the Eisenhower box. So here's a graph showing you what the Eisenhower box looks like. The columns are urgent and not urgent, and the rows are important and not important. The 4 boxes are do, decide or delay, delegate, and delete. If you're having trouble filling in the delete and delegate boxes, here are some questions that might help you. What are some things that waste your time? Things that stress you out? Things that drain your energy? Things that think you should do? Things that don't actually need to be done? And things that are completely out of your control. These 6 questions can get you started with your not to-do list. Now, out of the 20% of your do list, aka the things that you cannot delegate or delete, what are some ways that you can simplify or automate your tasks? For example, I know I have to pay my bills. I don't trust other people to do it for me. So can I automate it? Maybe set up a bill pay automatic payment for my bank? And I also know that I need to make money. Assuming that I'm the sole provider for myself and I'm currently making active income, then how can I not trade time for money? How can I start making passive income? If you're looking for more inspiration, I invite you to attend my free training all about my passive income ecosystem that helped me retire early from corporate at 25 years old. This will give you some insight on how you can start creating passive income that supplement your current lifestyle and prepare you for early retirement. So far in the video, we've talked about how and why we'd feel like we're drowning, why we haven't been productive, and how to get back to work in a sustainable way. However, this is not a permanent solution, as you'll have to continuously practice self-compassion and self-love. Let's also address the elephant in the room, which is the reality of living in a capitalistic society that requires having money to survive. Many of us have to work because we need the money. And I get it, I was in the exact same position a couple years ago. The only way to truly get out of the rat race and the vicious burnout cycle is to be financially independent enough to provide for yourself without having to make active income. This is what I learned in the past 8 years, and I've summarized all the things that I did right inside of my free training. You can attend the free training from my pinned comment or description box below. I'm also going to link my next video up here, but don't click on it yet. Make sure to subscribe if you want to retire early while caring for your mental health.